usually something that is uh, 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 that cannot be measured in in a definite way. So that is why these are called soft skills. So students should understand that gaining knowledge is one aspect, and applying it in the real workplace is another thing. This is what we call skill. This is what the industries expect. Industries expect that students should have the necessary basic theoretical knowledge, and they should have the ability to put this knowledge to work. That is, the skills that they are expected to employ when they are given certain assignments. The next one on personality development that students need to think about. These are the basic dialectics of personality developments. These are the things that you need to tell students and make them aware of. Technology and communication. Of course, technology is something that I have uniformly found among students to be something that they can easily cope with. They're better at it than seniors or elders. But when it comes to communication, all of us know, particularly the English language teachers know, that this is a gray area. This is an area where everybody says that there is a need for improvement. That there is so much that the organizations expect. Because while when I was working for the placement division in a particular college, in my college rather, I had the opportunity of visiting some of these IT majors like Cognizant, like Infosys, and others, and their expectations are very practical. They expect students to have, they don't expect students to be endowed with the greatest quantum of knowledge. They expect them to be above average, do well in their studies, and there are certain standards they apply. And the same way, they expect them to have some good working knowledge in English. They must be able to communicate well. Not that they expect them to speak like Barack Obama or someone else like him. They are supposed to have certain basic functional abilities in using the English language, like writing good emails, reasonably good emails, speaking in given situations and contexts. These are the things that the organizations and companies expect everywhere. Technology is not, it doesn't seem to be a big problem for youngsters because they have the natural ability to learn technology and employ it and use it as required. But when it comes to communication, that is a area where improvement is always seen to be needed. So I'll talk more about communication. I'll talk about communication skills and CLT towards the later part of my program. So let us start with personality development. So what you need to tell them is about making their personal space as well as professional space more refined, more sophisticated, more acceptable to others. Secondly, they need to be aware of the time that is that at the disposal and space that is at disposal. Because I'm talking about this because I see quite a number of students not in a position to realize during the college days that they need to do certain things, and they realize it later on when they go out and when they struggle, when they're not in suitable positions, then they realize that they have missed out on time and the space that was made available to them. That's why these things you need to tell them. Then you need to tell them between the difference between knowledge, between skill. These two, they coexist, they're correlated, and they must understand what is knowledge, that is the theoretical side, and the applied side, you may call it knowledge and skill. Then technology and communication being at the core of everything. We will talk about that later. Finally, you need to tell them about opportunities and what I call job research. Most of the students, your own students, are not aware. They don't think about what are the opportunities that are available to them. They think about it in a very cursory way. They don't take it very seriously. They don't research into that. So you need to tell them that they have to be aware of the opportunities that are available to them at their disposal. What are the jobs that they can get? What are the spheres in which they can get employed? What are the companies that possibly could offer them these jobs? These are the things that they have to be aware of when they finish the college, when they are in college, when they are doing the graduation itself. They should be aware of all these things, particularly job research. I always tell I used to tell my students that they need to do what is known as job research. That means they have to spend some time now and then and find out what are the jobs that are available to them, what are the companies, what are the company profiles, what do these companies expect from them. These are the kind of things that they need to do. So these are the initial fundamental requirements for developing a personality. So only when they become aware of all these things, they will know that there are certain things which they need to do in order to develop their personalities. So I would like my young teachers to consider all these things, keep these things in mind, and when they train teacher students and they teach students, they can possibly talk about all these things. So let us next talk about what I consider to be an important framework. There was a particular framework which is 21st century skills development framework. Actually, it is called P21. You can make a note of it. You can Google for it, and you'll find a lot of information on that. What are the kinds of knowledge systems that are available? What are the kind levels of knowledge that the learners are supposed to acquire? What are the kinds of academic and professional skills that they are supposed to uh, uh, acquire? These are the things that are given in that particular framework. It's called 20th century skills development. It's called P21. You can Google for it and you will get a lot of information about it. So what it talks about is like you can see. Can you see the slide now? Are you able to see my slide?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes.
sir.
So a blend of content knowledge, specific skills, expertise, and literacies. I'll explain what these things are. Of course, these are self-explanatory. You know what's content knowledge. That's well. So content knowledge to the required level is important. See, once someone is studying English language, he should he or she should have the basic content content knowledge that is expected of the level of uh, achievement that that person has made, the student. So for a English language learner, an undergraduate student, a basic knowledge of grammar, a basic knowledge of phonetics and phonology, a basic knowledge of basic linguistics. These are the requirements. The ability to write well, speak well, and things like that. So in every domain, in every sphere, the content knowledge is considered to be important. And this is always assessed through examinations. What are the level of content proficiency that a student has can easily be assessed through the examinations that we conduct. And specific skills. What are the specific skills that are required? And these skills, for example, technical skills, soft skills, and communication skills, interpersonal skills, intrapersonal skills, time management skills, leadership skills, and such other things. These are, of course, all of you know about these things, and we will talk about how to take these things to the students. There's no point in simply talking about concepts, simply giving definitions about these things. We need to make them understand how to learn these things through sustained practice, because practice becomes very important. And expertise in specific domains. Ultimately, this is what is going to decide where they're going to go in their lives. Because if someone wants to be a software engineer, he needs to have the basic expertise that is needed in the such of those domains where the companies want them to work in. So these are the things. There are called, there are other things called literacies. This is an interesting area. I will discuss it as we go along. The general awareness about so many things, what are basically required to be a well developed personality, a person of sophistication, a person of good information. They are supposed to have these kind of literacies. I'll explain it a little while later in my presentation. Then, of course, the three R's, they are always important, as you know. What are the three R's? You know that reading, writing, and arithmetic, 3 R's, and I am adding yes to it. In addition to the 3 R's, which have always been considered very important, that is reading, writing, and arithmetic. Now, speaking has become very, very important wherever a person goes. The primacy of speech in communication is something that I'm going to talk about. I mean, I talk about all these in a very brief way because the time at our disposal is only about 50 minutes. Anyway, I'll give you a brief idea about all these things. Quite a number of these things you already know, possibly, not that you don't know, but I'll be explaining it from my perspective. So the 3 R's and yes, speaking. English language teachers, placement trainers, and teachers in general in all subjects, they should be aware of the fact that communication skills these days primarily focus on the ability to speak a language well. Speech is primary. That's the post-structuralist notion. For example, there was a time during, before all these post-structural notions came into play, there was this theory or this kind of thinking that speech is not the purest form of language. It's writing which is the purest form of language, and the speech is a crude form of language. That's the kind of understanding we had about language in the past, but that has since changed. Post-structuralist understanding tells us that all types of languages, all samples of language, all specimens of languages are acceptable. There's nothing called pure or impure. What people speak, what they use in their everyday lives is a language that needs to be accepted. That is why spoken language is considered to be very important these days. As you may be aware, particularly English language teachers, the modern dictionaries of Cambridge and Oxford and other some of the seminal dictionaries, they employ a corpus of English language that is actually used in everyday life. Words and usages are taken from this corpus, and it is from this corpus that these kind of dictionaries are created. This is something that you might possibly want to consider as being important. So the primacy of spoken English needs to be made to understand by the learners and the teachers. We need to see, when there was one thing to talk about communication in general in a theoretical way, but it's another thing to be aware of what we need to do to make communication, communicative language teaching effective, how to make it really good in the classroom. Is something that we need to talk about when we talk about communication. So the content knowledge, specific skills that are expected, and the expertise, technical expertise. When we normally talk about expertise, we talk about technical expertise, we talk about domain expertise. Whatever domain one is working, one needs to have the basic expertise that is expected of a person who is entering the domain. And literacies are of a general nature. We will talk about it later. And all these things you need to first, teachers need to be aware of all these things. Then we can move on. Then from all this influx of information, you can choose what you want. You can create your own classroom frameworks. That's what communicative language teaching tells you. Communicative language talks about the eclectic method. It talks about the best method. That it's nothing but doing your own homework and creating your own frameworks to teach effectively in the classroom. Anyway, we'll come to that later. So core academic subject knowledge, and within this context of core academic knowledge instruction, students also should learn about the academic and professional skills like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and collaboration. So these are known as the four C's, and that I'll explain later. So let us move on to the next item and see what we have. Institutions need to provide these support systems. We have standards. Now, you know what standards are, isn't it? We talk about accreditation. We talk about the Washington Accord. we talk about NAC accreditation, we talk about NBA accreditation, we talk about accreditation and standards, which is going to become very, very important. Any degree that is offered by Indian universities has to be an accredited degree, and the institutions have to be accredited as required. International standards and accreditation is becoming important, and institutions, of course, are very serious about these things these days. The national institutional framework of reference, the national institutional ranking is becoming an important thing to these days, and all colleges are aware of these things. Then assessments. An assessment is, I'm talking to teachers. So I thought I should talk about all these things. When you talk about communication, when you talk about core subject expertise, your assessment needs to be very effective. And honestly speaking, our assessments are yet to make the grade. Our assessments, personally, I have been doing assessments for the past 45 years, and I would still say that there is a lot of improvement that needs to be incorporated into our examination systems, into our assessment systems. And then the curriculum and instruction framework, which needs to be evolved in tune with what is required these days, and the professional development and learning environments. And all these things, I am very happy that the institutions are taking up all these things very seriously, and they are trying to do the best as far as these areas are concerned, so that the students will derive the benefits that comes out of these approaches. So institutional support network is important. All these combine together to help students to evolve into better personalities. We can't put the onus on the individual and say personality development is your business. It is for you to improve your personality and fine tune your personality. Of course, the individual's effort is very much required. That's very, very important in personality development, as in everything else. But there are other things that needs to be considered. What are the requirements that organizations expect? What are the things that organizations expect? What is the institutional framework support that needs to be given to the students? Then literacies I was talking about. We will come to that later. The core subjects and that you can see. English is rated as one of the most important things, as all of you know. Reading and language arts, world languages, whatever is required. Now, the quite a number of youngsters are learning French, they are learning German, and they are learning Japanese. And these things do really help in learning languages. Has a definitive role in helping learners to improve their personalities and get better opportunities. Mathematics, economics, the STEM, the combination, that science, technology, etc., mathematics, science and technology, geography, history, and government. These are all considered important, at least to an extent. At least to an extent. School education, of course, focuses on all these things: geography, history, government, and civics. I can see that the NCERT framework is really good. It gives a lot of information to students about all these things. But when they come to colleges, to higher education, naturally they move to science and technology, mathematics, arts, and other things. And of course, languages play an important role. The next one is, I was talking about the literacies. What are the literacies that we are talking about? So this is something that I would request you to keep in mind. That today's workplace, the world of employment, the corporate world, whatever you want to call it, you can call it so. This world expects the new entrants to have certain basic literacies, basic awareness about certain things. For example, global awareness. You don't need to be a master of global politics and other things. At least you should know what is happening around the world. You should know what is happening to our own country, to the countries around us. and to in the global scenario, what's happening, financial, economic, business, and entrepreneurial literacy. Uh, the youngsters are supposed to know certain basic things, functionalities, the fundamentals of economics and business and entrepreneurial literacy. That really helps in startup that plays an important role in the startup culture. Civic literacy, health literacy. Of course, health literacy, I think that's really becoming important these days. Everyone is becoming aware of the health and leading a healthy life and healthy lifestyle and balancing between work and family, and environmental literacy. That's again another thing that not that they need to be masters of all these things. These are all things that will add polish to one's personality. The more one knows about all these things, one can speak confidently in any place. One can play an important role in a given context. One can make a mark in whatever the person does. So for all that, information, knowledge, and technical expertise, all these things are important and they are required. So in that sense, these literacies, these are considered literacies. Then there is another thing also. Let's talk about this. This is something that you need to tell your students: information literacy, media literacy, ICT literacy. These are something some of the things that are becoming very important these days. People are everywhere, youngsters are expected to know a little bit of all these things, and they should have this literacy. What is literacy? Knowing what to do and what not to do. Information literacy is a very important area where youngsters need to be told what is the information. With such an abundance and phenomenal amount of information that's available on the internet, students need to be told what is the kind of information that need to choose, what is the kind of information they need to reject or keep away. So this is very important. The intelligence and the ability to retrieve information, good information, required information, useful information from the multiple sources of information that's available to them or at their disposal. The ability and the intelligence to take information that is required is an important aspect of personality development. So if you're going to load your mind and fill your mind with all kinds of rubbish, all unwanted information, then in that sense, social media is something that really it uh, provides a lot of unwanted information, a lot of unwanted things are there. So the individual, particularly the young people who want to succeed in their life, who want to develop their personalities, who want to make a mark in their professional and academic spheres, who want to have good careers for themselves, they should have this information literacy and media literacy. What are the things that they should in what are the things for which they should use the media, what are the purposes for which they should use the media. That is that media literacy. And finally, in ICT literacy, say for example, the mobile phone could be a very good example to start with. A student should know what the mobile phone should be used for, and what are the things that they should avoid. And that is something that I think youngsters are not really into, and teachers can tell them a little bit about this. And ICT literacy, this is something that is very important. uh, then finally, these are things that are very familiar to all of you, I suppose. So yes, I'm very sure that these are things that you know already. The four C's: creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, communication, and collaboration. See, today, nobody works as an individual. Everybody works in a team. The work ethics have changed. The work culture has changed. And an individual always works in a team these days, wherever he or she goes. So the ability to be part of a team, to work in a team, to gel in with others, and to work with others, that ability to collaborate, for which communication is an important requirement. So these are the things that four C's, like The 3 R's I spoke about, which all of you know. I spoke about 3 R's and yes. 3 R's, that is, you know what 3 R's are: reading, writing, and arithmetic, plus yes, speaking, the ability to speak a language effectively to the required extent. Like I said, one need not to be an orator, a public speaker, but one needs to use the language effectively in a given context, in the professional sphere, in the workplace. That is very, very important. And collaboration, the ability to collaborate, that is very important. This we have seen the literacies. And so that is as far as the academic and professional spheres are concerned. Now let's move on to the personal sphere, the individual. What are the qualities that one needs to have? Of course, these are all also things that you know, or not that you're not aware of it, but I have just put them in an order. So flexibility and adaptability is something that even organizations, they always talk about. The training programs offered by IT companies to the new entrants when they are onboarded, usually they talk about, they lay stress on these things: flexibility and adaptability in a given situation. This gives them the ability to carry themselves well, give a good impression about themselves, and be successful in their interpersonal relationships. And the initiative and self-direction, the ability to be proactive and not always wait for others to start things, not always wait for something to happen, not always wait for someone to give the instructions and to do the list, and the ability to be on one's own and to think and see what one can do, where what things can be started. This initiative, of course, as all of you know, this is very important. Say, for example, I'll give you a classic example. If you're into placement training, you will know that group discussions play an important role in placement recruitment. Of course, these days things are changing, but group discussion is a very good tool to assess the ability of students. In a group discussion, this taking an initiative and self-direction to contribute meaningfully to the discussions, and to take forward the discussions, and to give it some kind of orientation, is something that if an individual can do, immediately that particular individual will be selected, it will be rated high in a group discussion. So these are things that are important both during placement and post placement when they take up jobs. And social and cross-cultural skills, and cross-cultural skills, that a lot is being spoken about these days, because people are moving. The professional mobility has become more. People are moving from place to place, from region to region, and from country to country. If you go to a place like Bangalore, and if you go to an office and interact with people, you'll find that there are people almost from all parts of India and from other countries as well. So that is the kind of situation, the global scenario into which youngsters are heading into. They're going into. That's the kind of scenario that they will face. That's the kind of experience that they will have. People from the previous generations, 20 years back or 30 years back, wouldn't have possibly had this kind of an exposure. Now, the present day youngsters, they have the wonderful opportunity of meeting people, working in cross-cultural, multicultural, multilinguistic scenarios. And believe me, that is the best way of learning and honing one's personality. You interact with people from different areas and different regions, different cultures, different languages, linguistic backgrounds, different countries. And naturally, you get to learn a lot. You know what are the rough edges that you have. So nothing like experience, nothing like going through all this and learning all these things through experience. And of course, productivity and accountability. See, the difference between the so-called accusations against public sector is that accountability is less there, whereas accountability is more in private sector. I'm not trying to say which is right, which is wrong, but that's the kind of perception people have. But accountability is becoming more important these days. So you are accountable to the organization, to the team, to the team leader or the manager, whoever it is, and you have to deliver what is expected of you. And leadership and responsibility. Of course, when you talk about leadership to students, you should make them understand that we are not talking about political leadership. Usually students think that leadership, immediately they think about political leaders and leaders in different areas. We're not talking about that. Leadership in the professional sphere simply means the ability to play a proactive role in a team. You automatically become a leader there. Those are the kind of people whom they select as team managers or project leaders. If someone is proactive, if he has the initiative, has the self-direction, if the person has the ability to interact well with others and take things forward, contribute meaningfully, and bring things to a conclusion. See, when you work in any kind of situation, there should be some kind of a closure. You don't simply keep on working, isn't it? You bring things to a fruitful end, a closure. That closure, the ability to bring that closure, the ability to give that kind of play an important role is what is known as leadership. And taking up responsibility is also leadership. Say, for example, to continue the same example of group discussion, if in a group discussion, if people suddenly there is a sudden lull, nobody's talking, if somebody starts and say fills the gap and gives a kind of a direction to the discussion, that is leadership. So these are the small little things that count a lot, in the workplace, in the professional sphere, and these are the things that you need to tell students about. So let's move on. And I spoke about things that are important in the academic sphere, the professional sphere. Now, in the personal sphere, there are other things that are important. Of course, interpersonal skills, you're aware of all these things. Just let me sum up very briefly what is interpersonal. Self-awareness and self-realization is very important for intrapersonal relationship. You should understand what are your plus points, what are your minus points, the SWOT analysis and things like that. That's very important these days. You must be able to assess yourself, and not easy. Knowing oneself and assessing oneself is perhaps the most philosophic part of the entire experience, I would say. It's not easy. Knowing yourself, it's not an easy task, but at least one should make an attempt constantly and achieve some kind of self-awareness. Total self-awareness is not possible. Total self-awareness, perhaps it will make you a Maharishi. You understand? So that's not what we are talking about. Self-awareness is what are the things that you can do, what are the things that you cannot do, what are the things in which you need to improve, in what ways you can improve. These are the things that we talk about. When we talk about self-awareness, we are not talking in a philosophical or metaphysical kind of paradigm. We don't use that kind of a paradigm. We are talking about everyday situations. We are talking about the everyday requirements of the professional field or the academic sphere. And this is where, if you can understand what you can do and what you cannot do, and how to do things what you cannot do, how to learn things, then that is self-awareness and self-realization. Physical fitness is important. I'm not going to talk much about it because this is something that everyone has some kind of I mean thing. People try to they are in some kind of self delusion when it comes to physical fitness. Everybody thinks they are fit, but it's better that individuals check themselves once in a while. Mental fitness, emotional intelligence, and balance. This is there is a separate session which I'm going to present a day after, I think. Anyway, emotional intelligence is something that teachers, you can spend some time and learn more about, and tell your students what is emotional intelligence, what's the ability to hold yourself together, to be positive in things, and to be not to be aggressive, but at the same time you can be assertive and things like that. How to overcome your temper, how not to get angry, how to get along with people, lots of things. This is an interesting area, emotional intelligence and balance. When you have emotional intelligence, good emotional intelligence, you achieve the kind of balance that people like in you. That's why some personalities, some people, they are very popular with others because they are always very composed, very serene. very refined, very sophisticated. They project themselves well, they carry themselves well, and people usually like them. I mean, a little bit of social pretension is needed, I suppose, in these kind of situations. You can't totally be honest all the time. If you don't like somebody, it doesn't help to tell them blunt to their face that that person is a fool. Instead, you can give a smile and walk away. You can just avoid a confrontation and things like that. That's what you call balance. These are some of the small little things that you would do well to tell your students. And personal discipline and time discipline. Time discipline. I mean, when all these things, what are the software, trainers, soft skills trainers, if you have interacted with soft skills trainer, I'm not a soft skills trainer myself. I am basically a linguist and a language teacher. Have been teaching English literature for so many years. But basically, I have interacted, like I said, the past and the last 10 years of my career. I had the opportunity of interacting with these soft skills trainers, and what they do is the difference between the regular set of teachers like us, what we do in the classroom. You know what we do in the classroom. We are very fond of hearing our own voice, isn't it? So, in spite of all the interactive approaches and things like that we talk about, most of the teachers they still persist with the lecture mode, the chalk and talk method, and of course that is something that you need to change. There's no doubt about it. So, soft skill trainers make these kind of things when they're talking about, say, for example, time management. They will give an activity. They will explain the concept briefly. They will give an activity and make the students do the activity. And through the activity, they will tell them what time management is. Teamwork. You talked so much about teamwork. How do you teach teamwork to students? You can't lecture about teamwork for 2 hours or 1 hour and hope that students will understand. Of course, they will understand, but it will not get into their heads. Nothing like devising an activity. Say, for example, teamwork. If you're talking about teamwork, you should devise an activity. And there was an interesting activity which was conducted in our college when the soft skills trainers came. What they did, they divided a 60 strong class into about, say, 8 or 10 groups. Each group had about seven, eight students. And what they told them to do is they just gave them old newspapers and some uh, 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 glue, gum, and sticker tapes and things like that, and one broomstick, one single broomstick. And they told them, whichever team builds the tallest tower, you can build any kind of tower that you want. Whichever team builds the tallest tower is the winner. So I was witness to that, and I could see that the students that brought out the creativity in them. It brought out the new ideas. It made them so it energized them to such an extent. The next 45 minutes, which was given to them for building this, finally they ended up building all kinds of towers. Some collapsed and they fell down. Some stood the ground. And what was important is that the teams really gel together. They combine together so well. Each one contributed in terms of ideas, in terms of work, in terms of so many other things. And each team was totally engrossed with what they were doing. So this is the kind of activity-based teaching learning that we talk about in communicative language teaching. The same thing applies to soft skills and personality development. You can't, go on lecturing about things and make students hope to make students to succeed in whatever they're doing. You have to devise activities. So these activities you can find a lot on the internet. You can find these activities and talk about that. So all these things are there, and let's move on. And finally, yes, interpersonal skills, all these things, teamwork skills, people skills. You can just read it if you want. I think time is short, so I'll move on and talk about communication skills a little before I close. So I think I can go on for another 5 minutes.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Sure. So another 10 minutes I can take?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You can take.
Yeah. So you have these interpersonal skills like teamwork skills. We can look at all those things. What the students need to do. You need to listen and participate. Simply listening is not important, not enough. You need to listen and participate. Participation could only be through contribution by way of ideas or by way of work, support, giving a lead and help, consulting, adjusting, solving. People skills. This is something very important. Even leave alone students, even teachers would do well to remember all these things, because I see a lot of uh, situations where people get worked up. So this is something that even teachers can remember in their work sphere. This is very important for professional, I mean, personality development, smiling and be. So all these things, obviously. So I'm not going to talk much about it. Tolerance, empathy, and politeness, and all those negotiation skills. Of course, in the workplace these days, when you're in a team, this becomes important, and organizational skills. So these are all in personal skills that you need to talk about when you're talking to your students. Professional skills like analytical skills and creative skills, and the Bloom's taxonomy. Of course, all of you are aware of it, I suppose. I am very sure that you're aware of it. That's still really good, I would say. Both the old version and the revised version. Bloom's taxonomy is being reworked and reworked and reworked, and so many new ideas have been incorporated. Um, Even though the olden days of behaviorism, from there we have moved on to cognitivism and things like that, socio-cognitivism and things like that. Bloom's taxonomy also has evolved, that has changed over the years, and I would request you to have a look at Bloom's taxonomy if you have not done so already. I'm very sure that you know about Bloom's taxonomy and Kolb's learning theories. Learning theories are very important. If your desired teaching is going to be your life's lifetime career, it's better that you learn something about learning theories. How do people learn? Unless you know how people learn, you're not going to know how you are going to teach. So learning theories are important. There are several learning theories, like Cobb's is only one among them. So learning theories are very important. Just Google for learning theories, you'll get to know a lot about learning theories. How do people learn? In what way these learning theories have impacted our own understanding of English language teaching? Because as an English language teacher, I can talk only about that. How the methods and approaches have changed. These have changed because of the language theories, learning theories. Learning theories, language theories, everything go hand in hand. Our understanding of language, our understanding of how languages need to be taught, all these things they are interlinked. So you need to learn a little bit about learning theories. You must understand what these things. So finally, let me conclude. Of course, I wish that I had spoken more about communication, because that's my area. But since I am talking mostly to English language teachers, I think you know about all these things. The global languages of power have come to stay here, whether we like it or not. These languages are here. English is going to be there, playing a very predominant role in almost every sphere that you can think of now and in the future. So ELT, English language teaching and learning, is continuing going to be important for the time in the times to come. So let's have a good understanding of what is it. Actual language, the practices of people. See, there is this misconception that the importance that's given to English language is going to affect Indian languages. That's not true. Indian languages will have their own role to play. Take our own examples. We know when to speak Tamil and Telugu, where to speak Tamil and Telugu, where to speak English, where to use Sanskrit. Is that correct? We are very well aware of it. Telugu movies are the most popular movies in Andhra, not the English movies. Tamil movies are the most popular movies in Tamil Nadu. It's not English movies. There may be a small percentage of people, 5% of people, or happy with the English movies, but 95% of the people are happy with the local language media. Tamil and Telugu, Malayalam, Kannada, and Hindi newspapers they sell more than English newspapers. So, in the global languages of power like English or German or French to an extent, they're not going to decimate the Indian languages. Indian languages will thrive. They will continue to live happily. So let's not worry about that. People use them in different contexts, in different situations. That's what I mean when I talk about language beliefs, ideologies, and practices. People know what language they need to choose, what they want. Whatever the politicians say, whatever frameworks of language planning or imposed from the top, people always decide what languages they need. That trend is not going to change. And primacy of speech, I already spoken about. So when you want to develop communication, when you are going to create frameworks of communicative language teaching, better be aware of what CLT is, communicative language teaching. But I personally believe that is the best framework we have right now. If you have anything better, please write a research paper on it and submit it. Definitely the top TESOL journals will publish them. I don't think there is anything better than that. Communicative language teaching is come to stay. Right now we have that framework, which is very good. So in your classrooms, if you want to develop communicative language, communication skills, you need to shift the focus from reading and writing to speaking and listening. You must make your students speak more. You have to devise activities. You have to use a standard material for that. For example, when I was heading the department finally in the college during the later part of my, we used Jack C. Richards' textbook, Interchange, at the B2 level. That is European Framework of Reference, B2 level. You must know what is the European Framework of Reference, right? You need to know what is A1, A2 level, B1, B2 level, C1, C2 level English. Language learning, not only English language, languages of all kinds. There are levels at which you can assess people, their ability to use that language. We used a book by Jack C. Richards at B2 level, and that proved to be very successful. We conducted speaking practice sessions in the classroom. We used Wi-Fi speakers and mobile phones for listening, and people had several doubts initially. Can we do it in a 60 classroom? We did it. It was a very successful experiment. I think it's still continuing. I have retired, and even after my retirement, what I put in place is still continuing there in that college. So communicative language teaching is the thing. And don't, if you have anything better, if you have any native varieties, please go ahead and do it. Nobody's objecting, but ensure that it has the authenticity that is required. And like I said, speaking is very important. Give importance to speaking and listening, and have this flipped mode of learning for reading and writing. Push reading and writing, give it as home assignments. Let the students do it outside the classroom. In the classroom, give more importance to speaking and writing. Don't talk about, sir, we don't have facilities, we don't have the permission, all that is your headache. What I would recommend is please do practice. Otherwise, you're not going to really bring about changes in the area of language, communication skills. And English, finally, let me conclude by saying international language certifications are now order of the day. Again, if you have anything better, please go ahead and do it. But I think certifications like Business English certification or Ielts, English in International English Language Testing System, these are examinations that have been devised by Cambridge University. And I believe me, the assessment criteria, the assessment scales that they use are extremely good, excellent. I wish that our universities would make use of those kind of assessment, because our evaluation of the English language paper is basically impressionistic at the best, at the least I can say. I don't think we have reached that level where we can really assess a student's language capabilities. So assessment becomes important. You can encourage your students to take up these examinations. Some of these examinations are not very costly. You have even examinations, Cambridge examinations like YLE, Young Learners English for school kids, uh, a key English test, a primary English test, things like that, business English certification. These are all offered by Cambridge. These are all very good exams. Ielts, of course, everybody now is taking Ielts. People who want to go abroad for either studies or work, they are doing Ielts. And Ielts framework is a real good framework. As language teachers, and particularly language teachers, and those who are involved in soft skills training and things like that, you can refer to the material that's available on the internet. Check IELTS materials, and you will get a lot of ideas as to how to teach speaking, listening, reading, and writing, skill-based development. So that's it. Quite a number of things I have spoken about. So I hope that it was useful for you. Of course, there are quite a number of things that you can about communication, communicative language teaching, and communication skills. You can talk. You can conduct a separate a training program. Anyway, considering the time at our disposal, let me wind up by saying that I hope that you found all this useful to an extent. Please try to make your teaching as participatory and activity oriented as possible. Don't be a lecturer all the time. That cannot work anymore. So let me conclude by thanking the management of this wonderful institution and my colleagues in the Department of English for having invited me for this FDP. And let me conclude by wishing the very best of everything to you. If you have any questions, I'll take those questions.
Thank you, sir. It was indeed an informative and an enlightening session. You've helped us gain a lot of clarity and understanding, and I know many of the participants would agree with me on that. I would like to now open the session for questions. Please post your questions to the chat box and we'll read it out here. Sir, there have been a few questions. Please allow me to read it to you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. What are the few significant problems related to personality that one might face at workplace, and how do we cope with the situation? This is the first question, sir.
Can you repeat that question?
What are the significant problems related to personality that one might face at workplace, and how do we cope with that situation?
Yes, there are quite a number of problems that an intern can face in the workplace as far as personality traits are concerned. The most important two problems that I would underline. Somebody needs to mute their speakers. I think people need to mute the speakers. Right. The two important problems is a lack of confidence and problems with communication. There are other problems also. One is lack of confidence. Confidence can be gained only through teamwork, working with other people, and language, the ability to express one's ideas. These two things are the major problems. This can be handled only through training, proper interaction, teamwork, participatory roles in group discussions and mock interviews and things like that. People will need to talk, need to have the opportunity to talk to others and gain the confidence. Once they do this repeatedly during the college days, definitely they'll be ready when they go to the workplace.
Yes. So the second question is, a commonly undervalued element of interpersonal communication is assertiveness. How do we handle it?
I mean, don't bother too much about this assertiveness. We need to tell students that aggressiveness is no and assertiveness is yes. This is what companies tell us. Don't be aggressive, be assertive. But this is something I personally believe is that's something that is learned through experience over a period of time. One doesn't straight away start being assertive. That would send wrong signals. This assertiveness part plays an important role only one climbs up the ladder a little, not at the entry level. at the entry level, it is better to be a little subservient, go with the team, listen to the team manager or the team leader, and respect the views of others. Even respecting the views of others and just saying, I, for example, somebody says something, you don't have to say, no, 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 that is wrong. You say, maybe you have a point, but I would like to look at it differently. If you say, that is assertiveness. There are several different shades of assertiveness. Let us get it straight that by being polite also we can be assertive. When somebody says, gives out an opinion, don't say you're wrong. Say, maybe you have a point, but I would like to look at it differently. That is politeness combined with assertiveness. So assertiveness is not the primary requirement at the entry level. Later on, when you become a team leader and when you start handling people, that is the time when you need to little become a bit assertive. The entry level, that's not a big problem, but it's important. This is an important question that someone asked, a friend of asked. You need to tell students the difference between the two. They don't understand. In that sense, this question is very important. Thank you.
The next question, sir, is please throw some light on the crucial areas where personality traits need to be developed.
Crucial.
Crucial areas where personality traits need to be developed.
I would foreground communication, the ability to speak in a given situation reasonably well, using the language reasonably well to the required extent is the most important fundamental requirement as far as personality development is concerned. One, if one is able to speak reasonably well, again, I am underscoring that reasonably well. One need not be a great orator. One needs to communicate, put across his views in a confident manner. So communication is the base, the foundation. It is on that foundation other characteristics are arranged or built. The other characteristics are like a superstructure. The base structure is language. That is why in post structural understanding, we consider language to be important. We're not talking about linguistic determinism these days. There was a time language is at the core of everything. Language is at the core of everything. So ask your students to speak and practice. That's why I say the primacy of speech. The moment they speak well in a group, they become confident. Once they become confident, they are able to contribute. Once they contribute, they become successful. And so this is the kind of correlation that we see. So I would start with the language and communication as being the fundamental basic requirement. I've seen, you have seen people who speak well, they exhibit the kind of confidence that is required. People who do not have the language, they always project themselves to be diffident. They don't move forward, they don't come forward, they fail to contribute. Even they may have even good ideas, they may be more talented than others. If they don't have the language to communicate that, then everything falls. So communication leads to confidence, confidence leads to more contributions and interaction, and this leads to better success.
So the next question is, what is the immediate change that needs to be addressed and rectified in the area of assessment?
Assessment scales. We do not use assessment scales. When Indian English language teachers in India, when we assess an examination script, we usually we do it in an impressionistic way. We need to scales very effectively, but that's a long way into the making. I don't think that's going to happen immediately unless universities wake up. I personally believe that it is the individual colleges, smaller the institution, the better. This is where good changes can be brought in. Say, for example, when a student writes a 200-page essay, how do you evaluate it? Just think about it. How do you evaluate it? There are several analytical things that you need to keep in mind. You can't simply read it and say, oh, he has written well. Okay, give him 8 marks out of 10. Give him 9 marks out of 10. You need to assess several aspects. You need to have a fairly good idea about how to assess it. Whether, for example, you can use look at grammar, whether the student has used complex grammatical structures and complex grammatical sentences, complex compound, or is he using only very simple sentences? That is grammar. Vocabulary, what is the range? What kind of vocabulary the student has used? Is he using very ordinary words, simple words? Is he using the word forms correctly? Vocabulary. Then you can think about discourse management, how the unity of the writing evolves. Is the student able to piece together ideas well? As he used the conventions of writing well, effectively, cohesion, coherence, these factors. So like this, you have to employ certain analytical scales to assess. Simply you can't read and say, yes, written well. That's what we say normally, isn't it? So that is basically, I wouldn't say that it's totally faulty, but it's not to the required levels. And that question that our friend has asked is very important. How do we ensure good evaluation? You need to assess proper analytical scales. Say, for example, writing. You have to write, talk about grammar. You have to think about grammar. You have to think about vocabulary. You have to think about cohesion. You have to think about coherence. If it's about speaking, you have to talk about the phonological aspects, whether the pronunciation is good, whether the intonation is good. All these things you have to make use of, right? So unless we are thorough, the teachers are thorough, our evaluation is never going to be really good. Okay, we will evaluate, not that we cannot evaluate, but that the subjective element will always play an important role, which is not correct. That's not what is being done at the international level. Hope that clarifies things.
Yes, sir, it does. Before we move on to our second speaker, I would like to thank our first speaker, Dr. Sasikaran Tyagarajan, for accepting our invitation at a very short notice and gracing us with your presence. So, you spoke about the importance of succeeding in not just professional, but also in one's personal life. Also, how one can make complete use of time and space available at one's disposal, which we collectively believe is the need of the hour. Your deep analysis about areas like assessment, curriculum, professional development, and learning environments helped us gain a lot of perspective about teaching and learning. We thank you, sir. We thank you very much. We look forward to be associated with eminent people like you in the future as well. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation, sir.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Let me thank the management and the principal and all my friends in the English department and the placement division for having invited me over. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I now hand over the mic to my fellow moderator for the day and colleague, Ms. R. Srilata, to continue with the rest of the session.
Thank you, Jessica. I take immense pleasure in inviting Dr. Shobha KN, a teacher, researcher, and a teacher educator, currently working Assistant Professor of English at Anna University, Chennai. An avid learner interested in investigating ways to approach and handle classroom issues in teaching English language. She has a PhD in English funded by University Grants Commission, NET Senior Research Fellowship, a Master's in Education Gold Medalist, and a TESOL USA certification in teaching English. She is also the recipient of Innovative Teachers Award 2020, presented by Rotary Club of Madras, Coromandel. Dr. Shobha has authored textbooks and works books with Cambridge University Press and Orient Black Swan for learners of English language at tertiary level. In addition to several research articles, she has been a member of content development team of content and language integrated learning textbooks for Tamil Nadu Textbook Corporation for Arts and Science Colleges, TANSHAI, and the ITI textbooks on employability skills for National Instructional Media Institute, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Dr. Shobha is also a trainer cum consultant for Research Content Program of British Council and runs workshops for teachers and students at US Consulate General. She has been working with the State Council of Educational Research and Training for the state of Andhra Pradesh since November 2019 in leading teacher education programs and editing textbooks at a primary level. She consults for various training organizations, currently both online and offline, in designing courses, frameworks, and content. She is also the strong conviction that the 21st century skills of communication, critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration are vital to both learners and teachers of English language because English opens doors. Over to you, ma'am.
So, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Srilata ma'am, for that wonderful introduction, for having summarized whatever I have done in a very crisp manner, in a very, I should say, innovative manner, because these kind of introductions are very rare to hear. So let me thank the previous speaker, Professor Shashi Sekharan, for having started, for setting the momentum. He started the session so well. This entire 5-day FDP program is going to be very fruitful for all of us. And I think this will be a great opportunity for all of us to kind of collaborate at various levels and also in future. So before I start, let me express my thanks to AV College of Arts, Science and Commerce in Hyderabad, the management, the IQAC. I understand that you are also the head of the department who are also managing the IQAC. So with all this, I'm very glad to be on board with you, and thank you for the opportunity. I would like to share my screen. Yes. Madam, you will have to enable participant screen sharing, it says.
Sirisha madam will do it.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. My friends are also here. Hello, Lakshmi.
Speaker will share her screen. Sirisha ma'am, kindly allow.
Yes, ma'am. We already stopped sharing our screen, ma'am.
Yes. So I think sir also touched on the topic of time management, and he was saying how important it is for these kinds of topics to be had in a face-to-face mode, because in a physical mode, when you teach time management or teamwork, then it can be very interesting, where a lot of activities are being given, but somehow we will try and do it in the online mode also. I'm still seeing host disabled participant screen share. Okay, now I think I should be able to share. I'm just trying to. Okay, so I hope you are able to see my screen.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
You are able to see the screen now. Great. So the topic given to me is something that is very interesting and challenging, because all of us try and do both. We try and manage time, and we also try and manage stress. So both these things are words that we keep repeating in our everyday lives, right? We say, oh, I don't have time le do. I'm already late for the meeting. This is stressing me too much. Because of stress, I am facing all these problems. Recently, when I visited the dentist said, no, it could also be because of the stress that you are facing, this problem. So I was also wondering, how is it possible? And how do we manage our time? So they gave me the topic, time management and stress management. But somehow, as I was doing my research and my homework for this particular session, I understood that both time management and stress management are related. And if somebody is able to manage their time well, if somebody is able to understand how to use time very well, we can also reduce the stress that we put on ourselves, and we can have a very fruitful and useful time with everyone. So this will be an interactive session. There will be questions. There will be answers from the participants. I understand that in an online mode, having interaction is very difficult. But then all of us are online teachers also now. So I understand that we have a very good number of participants, more than 80. So we will have some kind of interaction. You will use the chat box whenever I ask a question. I have access to the chat box, so I will be checking the chat box often. So with this kind of a deal, let us enter into the session, and I will have this session till 6:30. Great. So there was a short introduction given for me, like, people, madam introduced me. Can you tell me what are some of the roles that I play in life? No, can you just guess what are the roles? I've opened the chat box, so you can just put in one role. What are the major roles you think I must be playing in life? So I'm opening the chat box. Okay. So basically, yes, I'm a teacher, no doubt about it. I'm a teacher. Okay, I'll give you a clue. My sons are very naughty. Okay, so yes, I'm a teacher, I'm a consultant, I'm a researcher, I'm a mentor, I'm a teacher, mother, and daughter. Yes, I'm also a daughter, a very good daughter, and a daughter-in-law, in fact. So, researchers, guide. Yes, I am a research guide. I have some PhD and MPhil scholars working with me. Yes, and I also give lot of motivation. Okay. Yes, I'm also a sister. I have a brother and a sister myself, so I'm also a good sister. So how do we balance? Okay, how do we balance? Of course, nobody has said what big responsibility being a wife is. Yes, I'm an administrator, a responsible better half. Thank you, Saida ma'am. So we have to juggle all these responsibilities, and you can see what kind of roles we play. Yes, I'm a homemaker. So all of us have all these roles. At some point, we are somebody who has to administrate certain things, whether it is at home or it is in the office. We have to be a mentor to somebody when they are asking doubts to us. We have to be a guide. We have to be a teacher. So, from my introduction there, I'm also an author. Did somebody put that? I'm also an author. I'm an editor for a journal. Okay, so there are so many other roles that we play, and most of the times, if you see, one of the frequent questions that people ask is, how do you find the time to do all this? That is one thing that people ask me. And when I was trying to prepare this was a very good reflective journey for me, because I was trying to see how I manage time and to see whether I am stressed all the time. I usually don't get stressed, because I plan and I compartmentalize certain things, my time. Yes, it is also about interest. Very good. So it's about passion and it's about interest. So yeah, researcher, because you have interest, you manage. Very good. Yes, because we have interest, we manage. So most of us also plan these things, and we kind of do things because of our passion. And I forgot to tell you something. I'm also a podcaster. We have the Eltai podcast, Eltai Cafe podcast, on which I gave a talk yesterday at from 4:30 to 5:30. I think some of you would have listened to it. So I also have my own podcast where I talk about we are a group of university teachers, and we talk about different things that is related to English language teaching, about students, about challenges in teaching and learning the language. Okay, division of labor. Okay, so definitely, there are so many roles that are ready for us in the form of opportunities, but sometimes we kind of overthink and we decide, should we take up this role? Definitely, is it going to be very easy or very difficult? So these are all certain questions in our mind. But then if we are not given that role, then we start asking, why was I not given that role? Okay, so how do we juggle all these things? How do we manage time? How do we manage stress? And how do we stay passionate above everything, right? They say that, a jack of all trades or master of none. So these are all certain things that we have heard about. But then today we will have to don many hats. We have to be participative. We have to contribute. We have to give back to the society. So there are different ideas that come to us. And then we are thinking, okay, how do we manage time? Now, say, for example, as soon as I started my career in teaching in a college, I kind of decided, so, in once a year, I will definitely write a project proposal. I will just send it. It is not about even getting the project proposal, but just sending it outside. So I will write this project proposal in once a year. Then I would tell myself, okay, once in 6 months, I should, work with a publisher for a book. So sometimes that becomes once a year. Okay. So working on a book. Once in 3 months, I tell myself I should keep a target for a research paper. So once in 3 months, I will send some research paper that I conducted in my class, a classroom action research or something, and I will publish it in some good journal, in some indexed journal, whether it is Scopus Indexed or Web of Science or UGC Care, because these are the things that will help us in our career mobility also. And then I will tell myself, so once in a week, I will read, okay, one article, one research article, whether it is from Ielts journal or, TISOL. So we have all those standard journals, LTI, all these things, I tell myself, I will read at least one. And every day I listen to some podcast, a TED talk during my commuting or, when I go on a walk. So I tell myself I will do all these things, right? And when you have this kind of a plan, it becomes very easy for us to understand what our goals are. So when I understand my goals, what I value the most, then it is easy for me to manage both time and my stress. Okay, it is almost going to be 6 in the evening and most of you have logged in. So let me try and see your current emotion. Okay, so we are 80 of us. Do you think you are on fire, or do you think you're vibrant, or do you have control of the cruise? Cruise control is, you still have control of what you're doing, or you're saying 70% I'm kind of awake, or no ma'am, I'm distracted. After 5, my brain does not work, or you have slowed down in your, whatever you're doing, or you're really tired, or you're hungry. Okay, so tell me. Okay, Jaypal Das Karanam says he's 70% awake and he's hungry. Okay, so Shraddha says very vibrant. I am very vibrant. Okay, Manasa feels a bit tired. I understand that. Okay, Srilata feels very vibrant. Okay. Yes, Suresh is slowing down. Yes. So Gundeti Shanta says tired. Yes, so most of us have a kind of a packed working day, and by 6 o'clock, we are all either tired or 70% awake. But then you can also see others who are also saying vibrant, inquisitive, right? Some people are vibrant, some are inquisitive. So on fire, but definitely I think, the passion to do a webinar at 6 o'clock in the evening also is a great chance to check your own energy levels. So thank you for your responses. And I can also see that I have received only 10 responses. We are 80 in this group. So people are too tired even to type in a response. So let me see if I'm getting some more responses. So you may be distracted because you will have reached your homes, doing some other things. Okay. So the plan for the session will be like this. What we are going to do first is we are going to try and see how we can establish the priorities in our life. Okay. So all of us have priorities. We will say family is our priority. For some people, money is a priority. For some people, having a great career is a priority. So there are different kinds of priorities in life. So it is important to establish your priority, right? Then we will try and see where the time is flying off. We all say it just looked as though January 2022 was round the corner. We were all doing New Year celebrations, but already 4 months have passed away. Where does time go? This is one question we constantly ask, so we will try and answer that question also. And then we will also see a few tools that are available. Okay, so some of us talk about planners, some of them talk about calendars, certain apps that are useful for us. So we will try and see how we can make the best use of these things, and then we will also see, we will review certain effective strategies and resources that can help us manage time and also stress. So I will be talking generally about these things, and this is not great psychology or very rocket science kind of material, but then this is something that most of us know very well, but some of us have thought, okay, maybe this does not work for me. But whatever I am telling you is certain things that I have a very strong conviction in, and I certainly believe in. Right. So if you are asking me, what is this time management about? I get up, I do my work, and then it's night, I go to sleep. But then time management can make you a very effective person, right? So Professor was just talking about how to develop an effective personality, an all-round personality who has the energy, and he was also emphasizing on speaking skills. Like most of us, we are teachers, we are trainers, and we are usually role models to others. So when we are such kind of role models to our students, to our fellow teachers, to our colleagues, and even to sometimes to our superiors, we have to try and understand how important it is to understand time management technique. So people who manage time well are usually punctual. See, today we started the session on time, right? And by 4:30, the first speaker started the session. And as soon as he finished the session, it was 5:30. He completed the session. 5:25, I think he finished his session, and then we had some short, brief question and answer session. I request the participants to mute themselves. So that we can, have a smooth session. Great. And then I started my session. So punctuality is something that can be very useful, because wasting somebody else's time can be it can be very embarrassing. Meeting deadlines, so you can always meet your deadlines. You can try and send your whether it is your proposal or for a journal paper, all of us have these deadlines, and we kind of work. So for time management, deadlines, and then complete all the tasks, okay, and give excellent quality also. If you're able to plan ahead, you will be able to deliver excellent quality, and have their interests and email boxes well in control. When some people open their inboxes, they'll be like 999 or 1000, or it will be overflowing, right? So most of us, what do? We kind of subscribe whatever website we visit, and then they keep sending us a lot of junk mail. So it is always helpful to have a professional mail and also a personal mail ID where all these advertisements and business links come in. Not only that, very well organized people, when you do time management properly, you can be a very organized person, and you are always prepared. They usually say, if you want something to be done fast, give it to the busiest person. Though the person has so many things to do, it can be a very good thing to give it to the person, because that person will be able to finish it quickly. So calm, I think with time management comes in a kind of calmness. So you know that everything is in place and you don't have to panic. This also has a direct influence on your health, right? So health is very important, and to take care of our health, the best thing that we can do is not to stress ourselves. So most of us know the kind of heart attacks people are having at the age of 35 and above. Very young people, because of stress, because of sleep patterns going crazy, all these things. Recently, I was just watching this web series called Mr. Robot, where Rami Malek has acted, and so he says people watch all these web series because they are not interested in knowing the story or something. It just sedates them. Yeah, I was wondering, okay, what kind of a thought is this? They read these stories, they watch these stories because it kind of sedates them. Now that kind of triggered a thought in me. right? All of us have subscribed to all these OTT platforms. And during the pandemic, when we thought we didn't have anything to do, most of us started watching all these series or binge watching all night and all that. So when we did all that, it had a toll on our sleep patterns, on the circadian rhythm of the sleep cycle, which experts say. So it helped us in a very negative manner, where we stayed in a very sedated manner. So when you are just watching episode after episode, even by the time you can click pause, I need to take a bio break, the next episode has come. And the kind of cliffhanger moments every episode stops in, right? It stops with a cliffhanger moment where you really want to know what happened to that person, or how did he enter that place. And so you watch the next episode also, and the next episode also ends with a cliffhanger. And so time just goes, right? So at the end of it, you feel very bad because you have lost your sleep, you have not eaten, you have not typed your paper, you have not read the paper that your student has given you, right? So, and you feel very bad about it, putting too much pressure and stress. So be conscious of the time that you have. So I have a clock near my television, and I always tell myself that whenever I turn on the television, I'll just look at the clock, and maybe 15 to 20 minutes I'll watch it. Or maybe if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, I'll watch it for 1 hour, or a movie if I'm going to watch. So we need to make these conscious choices based on our career goals. If we have nothing else to do, and if we want to watch all these things, it's fine. But then we have a particular time frame to manage. We have to deliver certain things. We have to take care of our health. So it is very important to have clear goals and work towards them. Then you will tell yourself, no, I have to get up at 5:30 for my morning walk, which will keep me awake, which will keep me aware. All my senses will work properly when I'm writing a research paper or when I'm discussing something in the meeting. So for these reasons, I have to get a good sleep. So I will turn the TV off at 9:30 or 9 o'clock, right? So health and success, both these things, I think being healthy itself is a very successful thing. All of us understand the importance of health these days because like I told you, a lot of health patterns have changed because of our food pattern, all these things. So it is very important for us to understand how time flies. So this is something that I received in one of my WhatsApp forwards. Some friend had sent to me. They say the bad news is time flies. Time is not in our control. But the good news is we are the pilots. So because we are the pilots, when time flies, we will be able to control it. We should be able to control it. And not only that, we have to be good role models for our students and our children at home, right? So when we come home and then when we start watching television, I think the children at home also get this pattern. They think that it is okay after a hard day of work, when we come back and when we are relaxing and watching for a long time, they think they can do the same after they come back from the school or college, right? So it is important to set good role model by managing time for ourselves and for our families. So if you want to be a very peaceful person, if you want to be very organized, happy, efficient, a very reliable person, because when somebody says they will deliver something by this date, if they don't deliver it, it can be very irritating. So most of us know when we talk to all these contractors who are building houses, or when you have to buy something, say a sofa or an almirah, when they say that they will deliver it this week and they say no, the work is not finished, it will take some more days, we think they are not very reliable and we will not recommend them to anybody, right? And if you also want to be successful, time management is definitely important. So it will increase your productivity. It will increase your productivity. People will start noticing that you are able to do more in a short time because you have planned and you have managed time well. It will reduce your stress. It will improve your self-esteem. I think this is the most important reason for me to think about time management. Because I think that when I tell myself this weekend I am finishing this book, I will read and finish this book this particular weekend, and though there are a lot of distractions and kind of laziness peeps in on a Sunday morning when you actually want to wake up late or do nothing, when you sit and finish the book, the kind of self-esteem you have, oh, I'm a person who will make a promise to myself but also keep it, right, but also fulfill that promise. So it improves your self-esteem. I think most of us will suffer from this imposter syndrome, right? What is this imposter syndrome? So most of us will be thinking like, okay, am I fit for this job? Oh my God, they gave me this this duty, or they gave me this post. Am I really eligible for it, or am I just faking it? So that self-esteem is very important, that self-respect is very important, and for that your time management has to be at an appropriate level. So a sense of balance, achieving a sense of balance can be very helpful, and also it will also give us to help us in establishing a good career, right? So all of us know that when we are writing books, we have to stick to the deadline, we have to deliver with the chapters or the number of pages to the publisher. So I usually work with certain publishers, and they know that I deliver on time. Otherwise the publisher will not come to us the next time, there will be no request at all from the publisher, right? So this helps us in establishing an important career also. This is why time management is very helpful. So the very next time you are going to, if you have planned any kind of binge watching, or if you have planned to, just while away your time, just think all these things. People, the entertainment industry or all these things are just sedating our consciousness. I think you would have also watched, The Social Dilemma. The Social Dilemma is again a show which talks about how social media tries to not brainwash, but it tries to control our consciousness, and how it is important for them to keep us hooked into that particular app. Okay. So there are two types of people. I think this picture will help you understand it more than my words. So you can see certain people, if you open their wardrobe, sometimes it will be like something on the left side and sometimes on the right side. So all of us like a bit of organization. All of us love to be very organized, So there are two types of people in this world, and we will have to choose who we want to be. Of course, most of us, if I ask you now, what would you choose? You will say, I like the left, where the pattern is very good, where it is in a spiral. Okay, but on the right side, there is no pattern, so I don't want to, I don't choose it. I don't prefer that. But then it takes a lot to be like that, to stay like that. So we will have to choose whatever we want. And this is something, students, they often say, I don't have time. Okay, whenever my student says, no, ma'am, I don't have time for all that, then I say, okay, which means you have other priorities. If you are not writing your homework, it means you are doing something else, right? Maybe you are playing a video game, or maybe you are attending some other, you are with your friends outside. You need to go out to a party. So you are doing something else in that particular time, right? So if you say, I don't have time, it means you are prioritizing. Maybe it could be your sleep, or it could be doing something else which is really important for you. So I don't believe the concept of I don't have time at all. Now, I think I should speak a little about procrastination, because most of us, we are very good in procrastinating, as in trying to say tomorrow, I will try and do it tomorrow. So here, if you look at the etymology of the word itself, pro means for or in favor of, like proactive. Professor Shashi Shekharan was talking about, being very proactive. So pro means in favor of, and crastiness means tomorrow. So it's a Latin word, and whenever we say procrastinate, we are in favor of tomorrow, and always we know that tomorrow never comes. The present moment is the biggest gift that we have. So please understand this meaning. So whenever we are saying I will do it tomorrow, we are actually saying that we might never do it. Great. Some interaction now. So just imagine you had more time. Okay, now like I told you, at 6 o'clock we are feeling very tired. Most of you as telling 70% hungry and all that. Now say if you had more time, like it's only maybe you are given 30 hours in a day, or you're given 50 hours in a day. Okay, and you are more creative. What would you do? Can you type in the chat box? Say you have more time and you are a very creative person. What would you like to do? I would read more novels. Okay, excellent. Thank you for the participation, Saida Aisha Jahan. Okay, so Shraddha would do research. Yes. So research involves a lot of creativity. So definitely, doing research. So you will read a lot. Okay. Yes, research. So somebody would read more novels. Somebody would try writing popular literature. Wow. So somebody would try writing popular literature. Okay. So Ramdas Honor wants to write a research article, because these are very important, for us. Read and obviously publish my views on it. Okay. So these are some of the things you want to do when you are very creative. Okay. YouTube for creativity. Okay. So Suresh wants to be a YouTuber, and I think Suresh would try and create a lot of interesting videos. But maybe due to the lack of time, he's not able to do that. Okay. If you had more time, and imagine you are strategic. Okay, you are strategic in planning. What would you do? So if you are very strategic, see, creativity, I understand you can write novels, you can improve your child's creativity and all that. But in case you are a very strategic person, you plan things well, and you know how you want your career to be. So what are some of the things you would do when you are a very strategic person? When you are a very strategic person, what would you try and do? Now, say for example, if I had more time, I would read all the options that are Srilata says plan more activities for Venice class. I think once a teacher, always a teacher, right? Whenever we have little time, we want to see what we can do best in our classroom. Very good. Yes. So if you're very strategic, you will plan how to reach my goals. Now, like I was saying, if I had a little extra time, maybe I would read up a lot of content on, finance, on investing, on cryptocurrencies and all those things, because that's a very strategic way. They say how to, not only earn money, but also save money and spend it very cautiously. Yes, Jagadish, you are right. Career development is very important. And in order to, focus on your career development, it is very important for us to do certain things. So I also focus a lot on my career development, more of writing, okay? Setting goals. Yes, setting goal is very important. Maybe you will think what is going to be your long-term goal, what is going to be your short-term goal. Like I told you, in 1 year, I will plan to do this. In 6 months, I will plan to do that, okay? Yeah, so thank you for all these responses. Now, imagine you had more time and you are present with what you are doing. Okay, what is this present? Now, whenever we are having conversations, we are often looking into the mobile phone and talking to somebody, right? That is what we usually do. Now, if we are really present, now all of you are listening to me, and in order to increase the retention, I'm using a slide, I'm using some pictures in it, and I'm also talking. Right? So if you were present and if you were engaged with what we are doing now, what do you think you will be able to do? Now, if you are really present when you are teaching, right? So you will be able to get ideas for your research from your teaching, because that is where I derive my inspiration from. I'm a very strong believer of classroom research. So I do all my research in my classroom. So if you are present with whatever, like say, for example, we obviously give 100%, yes. Being situational, yes, that's very important, Yashmita. So we have a lot of ideas, and we are thinking, oh, if only I have the time, I will learn something. If only I have some time, I will do this. So during the lockdown, we had a lot of time. But, some of us learned a few skills, skill development we did, but some of us felt very irritated because of the challenges. Great. Now, I want you to identify one time wasting culprit in your life from your point of view. So tell me, according to you, what is the time wasting culprit in your life? Like I told you, sometimes, I just give in to television, or whenever I'm in a very tired or a bad mood, I tune into television and I watch. Yes, mobile phone, yes. So all the notifications, right? When you turn on the notifications, Jessica says social media is one time wasting factor. Yes. Lakshmi also says the same thing. Mariamal says chatting with friends in mobile. Okay. Gopinath watches a lot of movies, I think. Bhavani says mobile phones. Okay. The biggest distraction. So putting the blame on the mobile phone. See, this is the biggest distraction in my life. If only I didn't have mobile phone, I would become the best person. Yes, television, entertainment. So we are self-aware. Gossips. Okay. So we are aware very much of the kind of distraction, of the time wasting culprits that are around us. Whenever there is that ting sound in our mobile phone, we are very curious. We are thinking, okay, who would have sent the message? What is the message about? And who you think had called? So whether it is middle of the night or early morning, we want to open the message and we want to see. Okay, oversleeping. Yes, that can also be one time wasting culprit. Oversleeping. So as you can see, these are the predominant time wasters, right? Whether it is your social media or television, entertainment, a bit of entertainment is also needed, but entertainment should also be a very useful one. So sometimes I tell my sons to read PG Woodhouse, or, they read Roald Dahl. So this is also good entertainment. Why don't you understand? This is also good entertainment. Negative thinking. Oh my God. What a great time wasting culprit it is, right? Yes, I agree with you, Prasad sir, because mostly what happens is when we think about, if this happens, then what will I do? If that doesn't happen, what will I do? So a lot of negative thinking we do, and that is one great, yes. So, okay, overthinking as well, yes. So overthinking, many of you are saying overthinking. Yeah, that is also a time wasting culprit, right? We are very good. Our imagination is like wild horses. So we imagine all sort of things. Oh, what will happen if this happens? What will happen if that happens? Okay, Mariamal also says egoism can be a great time waster. Yes, negative people around us. Trying to make others happy or satisfied. I think, we are trying to be Mr. Perfect or Mrs. Perfect. Okay, or the perfect mother or the super mom. So all these things can be real time wasters sometimes, because we are who we are and our family is what it is. So we will have to try and agree and accept everyone around us like that. Thank you for your wonderful answers. I really feel as though I am there with you and I can hear your voices. Thank you for your participation. Let us just move on. So as you can see, it is not about managing time. It is about managing your mind. Okay, like how a mind management world is more important than a time management world. Now, say for example, the mind can be programmed in such a way. We talk about this, neuro-linguistic program. We talk about so many NLP and other techniques where the mind is programmed. The kind of things you tell your mind. They say self-talk. The kind of self-talk that you do can have a big impact on whatever you achieve in life. If you're going to say, oh my God, I don't think I'm going to get this. I don't think I will be selected for this. I don't think my head of the department will be happy with this. That kind of self-talk can also cause a lot of self-damage, right? So mind management is more important, saying, this job is important for me. So let me finish this and let me try and focus on something else. Great. Let us see what are some of the things we do to manage time. So we can keep a calendar. So, we can keep a monthly calendar where we are just writing some of the things that we have to complete or what we want to do. There are a lot of online apps which we can do. Building routines. So you can get repeating. They say that if you build a routine for 21 days, you do the same thing, and on the 22nd day, you automatically, your brain wakes up and it does the same thing. Now, say for example, we learn a lot of keyboard shortcuts for the apps that we use. We are constantly searching for how to do something in a very short time. We also start saying no to certain opportunities. Like, sometimes I used to think that I should say no to webinars out of my work time, because we all work from 9 to 5. I don't want anything to do after that. But then I think, no, this is my passion, interacting with teachers and sharing experiences. So I always say yes. And we do the speed reading, and we also speed listen, right? Like I told you, when I'm watching a YouTube video, or when I am listening to some lectures, or when I'm listening to certain talks, I do speed listening. I just increase the playback speed, make it 1.5 or 1.75, and I try to listen more. Then start cutting out all the essential activities. Sometimes we also say, no, I will not go there, sit in the room and eat with my friend. I will sit on my own desk, because when I go there, I talk a lot and we chat a lot, and then we don't know how time passes by. I do that most of the time, but then, that's not good. So once in a while I go, I sit, chat, and we kind of eat. Now, say for example, these days we start multitasking. Okay, we check our email while we are brushing our teeth, and most of the time we have conference calls while we are driving to work. So all these things happen. So if you want to manage time, set goals and set reasonable expectations. Don't think that you will write your research paper in one day, or in 1 week also. It can be very difficult if you don't have enough data. Make a schedule, revisit and revise your plan, and you can stick to it. So this is one table that you would have seen many times. Urgent, not urgent, and important and not important. So which is very important. Now imagine if you don't pick your child up from school, okay, that can be a big problem. So that is important and that's urgent. You can't say, oh, the school closes at 3 o'clock, let me go at 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock. Shouldn't be a problem. No, you can't do that. If the school closes at 3 o'clock, you go at 3 o'clock and pick your child, right? You make sure that somebody picks your child at 4 o'clock. So deadlines, when you have to do it tomorrow, it's important because it is a matter of your personality. Presentation, something that is scheduled at work, okay, not urgent, a paper due next month, but it is important. Some kind of planning, okay, that is also very important. Calls, requests, all these things are important. Your rejuvenation time, whether you want to do yoga, but you can always say, okay, maybe I will do it tomorrow, today I will skip. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't be very harsh saying that, no, I skipped my yoga today, let me do it 12 o'clock night, it's okay, let me finish it. Don't be like that. That is important, but that is not very urgent, right? And then all these interruptions, disruptions, some unwanted calls. Okay, a friend asks a favor. If you think it is not very important, you can make it wait. And all this trivia like gossips, time wasters, especially, these days, a lot of gaming is happening. I have heard of people who play a lot of online rummy, gambling, and then they get into a lot of problems. So, like we discussed, if you look at the 9 time wasters at workplace, especially at home also, they waste a lot of time for us. Social media, interruptions, multitasking. Because we think that when we are multitasking, we are able to do a lot of things, but we actually don't. Taking on co-workers' tasks. Sometimes we try to please, like, Saida Aisha ma'am has said, trying to make others happy or satisfied. And we want to do their work also. Please don't do that. That's such a time waste. Disorganization, procrastination, okay, unnecessary meetings and equipment issues. If you are a person who can do meetings with a proper agenda, then you should do a meeting. Sometimes we are invited to a meeting and everybody wastes time there. That can be really irritating also. So equipment issues. So sometimes when your computer takes a long time to boot or to start, such equipment issues should also be corrected so that they don't waste our time. So most of us are this productivity enthusiast, right? We always say we want to do so much, There is we can very productive. We can do all these things. We can get grants, funds, and we can do a lot of research. We can generate a lot of revenue. So most of us are these productivity enthusiasts. Now, if you look at the idea of time management itself, it comes from this person called Frederick Taylor. Okay, so what Frederick Taylor did was he wanted to see how in a factory time can be reduced while there is some kind of an industrial operation. Okay, so by identifying how a job can be done at the least time, he came up with this idea of managing time. So till then, people were only talking about managing people, managing workers, but this is called Taylorism, where we talk about productivity and time management. But you can also see how you cannot be always at it, right? You cannot be pumped up at all the times. You need to take a break. That is also very important. Okay. Otherwise, what happens is you will look like you are increasing. It will look like you are increasing your productivity, but at one point there will be a lot of burnout and there will be a negative productivity also. So this is one picture I wanted to share with you. So whenever you get a lot of tasks, right? So the big rocks, small rocks, and the sand. When you try to fill in a bell jar, they say do your big tasks right away. But then it is very important to see what is this task that is coming to me. Now, is this task actionable? Is this task really doable? Okay, we have to ask that question. If yes, this task is doable for me. So what is the next action I should take? Should I do it? Should I delegate it to someone, or should I do it later? Now, if this task is not important, should I just throw it away? Or should I give it to somebody else? Or should I just keep it for some time, right? So you have to ask these questions before you take the project up. So there are different methods of time management. It is called the Eisenhower method, which Stephen Covey has discussed in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, where this urgent and not urgent, important and not important discussion was done. And then you have Tim Ferriss's The 4-Hour Work Week, where they talk about the Pareto principle, 80:20. So though you are working for 100 hours, only 20 hours is very productive. 20% of the day is productive, 80% is not very productive. Cut out all but the most essential things in life, like people talk about minimalism, right? So that is coming from Greg McKeown. And then David Allen has written a wonderful book called Getting Things Done. So he talks about a trusted system. And then they talk more about attention span management, right? Attention management, mind management than time management. You also have this Cal Newport who talks about a lot of distractions are there. Where is this deep work? Because I remember when I was doing my PhD back in 2006, I used to go to a library and I wouldn't even look at the clock. I would just be immersed reading, and suddenly I look out of the window and it has become dark. But these days it is not possible. You try to read one page and then there is a notification on your mobile phone. Then there is a call. Then there is something else. And you ultimately don't get to finish that book at all, right? So how to do deep work, how to understand the concepts in a very deep manner. Most of the PhD scholars, they also suffer from this attention span, management, because they're not able to read, understand, stay in that concept for a long time, apply their mind. So it becomes very difficult for them. So what you have to do is establish a routine. You have to find a place to work. Okay, keep track of your professional activities. Use an electronic calendar, make a list, or prioritize. I also sometimes use this front burner, back burner thing. The front burner is, now this is very important, I have to do it now. Back burner is a little, women understand this metaphor very beautifully because we all use a lot of burners when we are cooking. So we know which burner will do the work fast, right? So whenever I want to cook rice or pack something in the morning, idlis or something, I keep it on my front burner, which is really fast and high flame. But the back burner is a little slow, so I know that I can put my fries or something there so that it will get nicely a kind of crispy fried. So we understand this concept. Similarly, certain issues that are very important will be like the front burner and the back burner issues. Also some task triggers. I always believe that whenever we have to do a task, we should be triggered, like setting an alarm clock to wake up, or somebody says something and we know that, oh, this is the time for this particular task. So we can also have some task triggers. Like most of us know that when we hear that particular alarm sound or the temple bell sound, it is time to do this particular thing. So conquering digital distractions, most of the times what happens is these are also called as weapons of mass distraction. So instead of calling them weapons of mass destruction, they are called as weapons of mass distraction. So we should be able to conquer these things like blogging or Facebook or Twitter. There are so many other things. So you have to understand the emotional factor, the mood that you are in right now, and what do you need to do that fix that mood. Like early morning, what can I do early in the morning? So there is no distraction. Can I sit and read quietly? When there is too much of noise in the house, what things can I do? Okay, so you pick a task, like say, for example, if you feel like, doing some regular task, like your household chores or something, then there can be noise and everybody can be around and you can take some help from everyone. But then if you really want to do something very quiet, if you want to write something, if you want to self-reflect, that can be done when nobody is around. So I think time management and stress management are connected, and you would agree with me. So here are some stress management skills, and sleep habit is very important. You know it very well about exercise or healthy diet. The self-limiting thought, oh, I can't do that. Oh, exercise and all I can't do. I can't do this yoga. I can't sleep early. So all these are self-limitations that we kind of talk to ourselves. So for me, time management and stress management are connected. If you are managing time in a very ineffective manner, you will be underachieving and there will be a lot of failure leading to a lot of stress management. But then if you are effectively managing your time, you can also manage your stress effectively and there will be a lot of success. If you are trying to not manage your stress, but time, if you are able to manage, then there will be a lot of burnout quickly. Okay, like doing too many things quickly can also lead to a burnout very soon. Okay, I understand that it is 6:30 now. Okay, so I also have to follow time management, right? Because I said I'll finish by 6:30. So here are some of the books that I have read, some of the references that I did for preparing this particular session, and I thoroughly enjoyed. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. I will try and stop sharing the screen.
Madam, I actually wanted to congratulate you because yesterday in the department, we were wondering when, since you're handling time management, if the session could really come to an end by 6:30, and you have really done it. Congratulations to you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I could see somebody has raised their hand. Dr. S. Gopi Krishna, sir. Yes, Dr. Gopi Krishna garu. Cheppandi. Or maybe he raised by mistake. Any questions for me, you can ask. Setting priorities is the best way. Yes, I agree with you. So I think most of us know that we are the best people to manage our own time. So if there are any questions, okay, how to teach time management to students? I think that is very important. That's an excellent question, Suresh Garu. The first thing is, you have to talk to them about their goals and values. Unless you tell them what is very important, what's really valuable in their life, unless they identify it and they set their career goals, they will not be in a mood to listen to you if you are talking about time management. All right. So tell them how important it is to understand the concept of achieving something and plan in reverse. So in case you want to go to a university, so what are some of the things that are required? Now, most students want to go outside India for their higher education. So how do you do your work? Now, say, for example, right from semester one, they should not have arrears, or they should have done some kind of societal work, or they should have participated in extracurricular activities or internships. So I think we have to discuss all that and tell them, if you have to achieve all that in your final year, imagine what you should be doing in your first year, right? So we can say all that and we can motivate. Visiting temple can mitigate caste stress. What is your take on it, ma'am? Yeah, definitely. Any place of worship, I strongly believe, will have that energy and vibe. So you can visit any place. I visit my parents' home. It reduces a lot of stress for me sometimes. I just go to the terrace and take in some fresh air. That also reduces a lot of stress. It's all our choice. Sometimes being at home itself, being with our family, especially for working people, that can be a great stress buster. So yeah, any place where you feel quiet and calm, please do that. Being optimistic, yes. Okay. So Manasa says, I have outpoured my speech. I think speaking skill is very important, like Professor said in the previous session. So I wouldn't take much of your time. I would now thank the organizers, the college management, the principal, the correspondent, the vice principal, the head of the department, and the organizing team. I think I will be meeting you again on Friday for 2 more sessions. So I will see you on the last day of this FDP. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I would like to present a vote of thanks now. I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you, ma'am, for accepting to be our resource persons for today's session. The way you started the session with the chat box made things more active. The way you shared how you manage your career goals, like writing a project proposal each year, is quite interesting. Your tips on enriching self-esteem are useful for all of us in order to develop our career skills. Your proactiveness, innovative methods of keeping participants active all through the session is commendable. I hope participants will practice 21-day mantra, multitasking, learning to say no, prioritizing work, completing work in given time, Taylorism, task triggers, using burners, and so on. They are all captivating, ma'am. Thanks a lot. Thank you all participants. Feedback link will be shared in the chat box right now. And every day a feedback link will be given to you, and it is mandatory for you to attend all the sessions. We will see Shobha ma'am once again with a different topic, and that day madam will be handling both the topics. Like the whole session will be hers with a small break in between. I hope you all enjoyed and had a great learning experience. We will share the feedback link in the WhatsApp group too. For tomorrow, kindly join by 3:50 because tomorrow the session will start at 4 and we will close by 6. Yeah, the link is given in the chat box. You can give your feedback.
So we will leave the link here for 5 minutes. I'm sure the link is also shared in the WhatsApp group, Srilata.
Yes, ma'am. We will share it in the WhatsApp group also.
Yeah, yes. Participants who have filled the feedback form can leave. We are just waiting for other participants to finish off the feedback. Srilata, shall we log off? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Log off.
We will end the meeting.
Yeah, end the meeting.
Chiranjeevi sir, please end the meeting. Meeting end చేయండి, please.
Srilata ma'am, you are the host. You can end the meeting.